Hornet is brought to the kingdom of Pharloom as a captive against her will, but she is able to free herself when a silk fly lands on her carriage. She doesn't know why she has been brought here, but she knows that she must climb to the Citadel to start to unravel the mystery. But her journey will not be without challenges. The Mossmother, Bellbeast, Lace, the Skull Tyrant, MoorWing, Sister Splinter, Phantom, and the Last Judge will all stand in her way, but one by one, she will overcome these challenges. Her goal for Act 1, make it to the Citadel. Let's see how far this loom goes. Hi, hello, and welcome. Thanks for checking out the video. Big heads up. Major spoiler warnings for all of SilkSong. We will be discussing characters, events, locations, and bosses in Act 1, but we will also talk about topics in Acts 2 and 3. So with that out of the way, let's get started with the video. Enough licking around the edges, let's stick our whole hand inside of the ice cream with the first boss. Starting off with our first boss, the Mossmother, which functions as the tutorial boss. Hornet is a stranger in a strange land, weakened by magic she doesn't understand, and transported to Pharloom as a prisoner. There's at least one thing that's familiar in Pharloom: silk. Hornet's lineage from her weaver mother grants her mastery over silk, and the small silk fly making contact with her cage gives her enough silk to break free of her imprisonment. Why was she imprisoned, and by whom? That's a mystery for another day. She falls into the moss grove, lush and green, where she must fight her way back to the surface, if she can even tell where the surface is. She also staggers from time to time from whatever her captors use to weaken her. Hornet only has one crest at this point, the Hunter's Crest, and these crests are what dictate her moveset and tools that she can equip. Stripped of all her abilities, to her core, Hornet is a hunter. This crest has a basic attack that can be swung in any direction, as fans of Hollow Knight are familiar with. But what weren't we ready for? Hornet's down attack with this crest goes diagonally, which is very different from what we're used to in the Knight's adventure. Much like the player, Hornet has to adjust to her weakened abilities. She must familiarize herself with how much strength she has remaining. Perhaps the bouts of tunnel vision is Hornet reaching for power she no longer possesses. And it's not long before Hornet encounters the Mossmother. Being the tutorial boss, this is a very gentle challenge, providing Hornet and the player a light initial combat challenge, while the player is still learning to navigate the combat and the game. The Mossmother doesn't attack too aggressively. She only has a few different methods of attacking, and they are clearly telegraphed. She is also easily staggerable, which makes it easy to stun her and land a few hits. Like a lot of bosses in SilkSong, the Mossmother will spawn minions, but the minions are slow-moving caterpillars, which actually gives Hornet a chance to regenerate silk, the source of Hornet's abilities and what she needs for healing. So spawning minions in this case is really just a way to allow the player to regenerate health throughout the fight. So this is a chance to get used to Hornet's new moveset. Also, throughout the game, Hornet is rarely facing a single enemy at a time. This fight sets us up to learn how to split focus and develop crowd control methodologies. This first boss fight won't pose too much of a challenge, even if you don't have a lot of tools and skills yet. And I think most players will be able to get past Mossmother without too much difficulty. Here's a useless piece of advice that will help you with most bosses in SilkSong and the Mossmother. You want to hit the boss and then not get hit. Do that long enough and the fight will be in the bag. SilkSong is known for its beautiful art direction and visuals. One detail that did stick out with me playing the game is its use of foreground in parallax. Notice the amount of small details, not just in the background, but also in the forefront. That is another little detail that you'll notice helps bring Pharloom to life and fleshes out the game's artistic vision. Having defeated the Mossmother, Hornet carries on. It won't be long before she encounters the second boss fight of the game, the Bellbeast. Below Bone Bottom, a tunnel filled with bells is a silent hideaway for a quiet pilgrim who desires to put off their journey to the Citadel as long as possible. Hornet will leave them to their solitude and continue on her journey. In the marrow, Hornet happens upon a great hard-bone bug ensnared in sticky white stuff. This silk is different. The Red Maiden herself cannot cut through it until she's found and equipped with her first silk skill, the Silk Spear. Skill and tools are a major part of the game, and you will see me use them extensively throughout the boss fights. In terms of attacks, the Bell Beast will either charge or leap across the arena, and then dive underneath the bells, only to arise again, launching bells through the air for Hornet to dodge. Like the Mossmother, this is also a comparatively easy boss fight, teaching you the mechanics of the game and getting used to the enemy patterns and environmental attacks. The Bell Beast is also another character that gives us insight into the amount of love and attention that Team Cherry has put into this game. The Hunter's Journal tells us, a huge, hard-bone bug that lives within and travels through the veins of old bells across Pharloom. This one has allied himself with me, either as thanks for their saving or respect for one judged as equal. Whatever the reason, their fellowship is welcomed. The Bell Beast is a little bit different from all the other bosses in that she will be Hornet's companion for the rest of her time in Pharloom. When she's released from her icky-sticky prison, she's enraged and appears to be fighting for her life. Hornet doesn't know how or why the Bell Beast was confined in silk, but she can relate to being imprisoned for unknown reasons. We learn that her hard-bone carapace, or shell, is so dense and thick she can barely feel Hornet's attacks. In fact, Team Cherry has confirmed that attacking the Bell Beast is equivalent to giving her pets. So Hornet was never actually fighting the Bell Beast, she's just petting her, soothing her from her enraged state. When Hornet calls out at a bellway station, the Bell Beast will burst forth from the bells, cooing pleasantly. My adult human wife insists that the Bell Beast's name is Ada. If Hornet pauses or waits long enough, the Bell Beast will tippy-tap with impatience. If Hornet strikes her, pets her, or rings any bells that might be overhead, she will happily purr or tippy-tap among the bells. Eventually, when Hornet has the needle in, the Bell Beast will sing with her, purr, howl, meow, bark, along as Hornet plays. Throughout the land of Pharloom, you will find more of these underground tunnels of bells, the subway transit system of Lower Pharloom. Hornet will ride on the back of the Bell Beast as she charges through the bells, like a salmon swimming upstream in a river of bells. Ding dong, ding dong. Once you reach the Grand Bellway of the Citadel, you'll switch to the Citadel's tube transit system. But the Bell Beast will be waiting patiently, curled up and napping until Hornet returns. To awaken her, Hornet needs only call her name, ring a bell, or play the needle in. We should take a moment to appreciate how patient the Bell Beast is. If I was awoken from a nap, I would be furious. The Bell Beast is a welcome companion in this strange land as Hornet continues her journey into Pharloom. Deep beneath Pharloom, where the earth burns and churns, lava falls while ashes and cinders fly, lies the Deep Docks. Upon meeting Chakra here, Chakra asks, child-wielding needle, what do you make of this huge groaning structure? Hornet replies, the scale of it all impresses me. If this is merely an outpost of the Citadel above, then their capital must be grand beyond measure. The cartographer replies, Yokala, perhaps so. They must have prized, indeed, the work done here, to build something so vast in such a dangerous place. These are the mines and forges of Pharloom, the industrial powerhouse of the Citadel. When Hornet purchases the map of Deep Docks from Chakra, her description of the maps reads, these docks, I thought them small when I first passed. Now I feel the structure's true bulk hides below the molten lake. The map description is heavy with foreshadowing, but I can see why it's here in Deep Docks, where you first meet Lace. Small in stature, but deep and rich with secrets to discover. Lace is first encountered standing on the platform over molten lava, conducting a trio of silk flies. Perhaps it was she who sent the faithful Silkfly that allowed Hornet to free herself. But it becomes clear that Lace is no friend when she taunts. How sad, a little spider has fallen from its cage. So lost, so weak. Poor little morsel. I can save you, little spider. All the trouble you'd face above, all the suffering. It's so simple. I'll just skewer you here and now. Pluck that flickering life right out of you. Hornet is no stranger to aggression, and she does not mince words, for she is not here to play. Your threats are worthless, child. If you are my foe, stay your voice and raise your blade. The first Hunter's Journal entry on Lace says that she is a maniac fencer who delights in battle. Lace attacks gracefully, wielding her pin. She'll make her way across the platform, performing slash attacks. She's also able to parry Hornet's attacks and retaliate, matching Hornet's moveset. She also has a down diagonal attack that she'll use to try to catch Hornet off guard. The arena is also unique because it's the first boss arena with passive environmental hazards, and we'll be seeing more of those as we move forward. Hornet can fall off the edges, taking damage from the lava, but she's also able to knock Lace off of the platform. Bosses in SilkSong will almost always have multiple phases, which will trigger once Hornet has dealt enough damage. Changing phases will either change the attack pattern of the bosses or give them additional attacks. For Lace's Phase 2, she gains an area attack, where she'll dash back and forth in a circle area, dealing damage if Hornet is caught in it. Lace is considered to be one of the fan favorites. But why? Because it feels like you're fighting a talented swordswoman equal in skill. But what does that mean? Like most bosses, Lace only has 2 or 3 attacks per phase, but they're clearly telegraphed and able to be avoided, making the fight almost feel like a dance where your partner will let you know what the next move is, allowing you to respond. But this clear telegraph and allowing the player a window to respond makes the boss fight feel like a battle or a struggle between 2 experts in their craft. It also makes the fight feel fair. Lace's attack are simple, unlike in some of the later boss fights, like say with Tormented Trobio, where it's actually very difficult to keep track of everything going on screen, with so many bombastic and colorful attacks. There are also no minions, so having to focus on just one enemy rather than tracking 3 or 4 makes a player feel more capable of predicting the fight and lowers the feeling of randomness or RNG, which can make a boss encounter feel unfair. All in all, the first fight with Lace isn't too challenging, but it's clear she's a consequential character. Hornet will have to discover more, and we'll encounter her again as her journey progresses. When Hornet strikes the winning blow, wisps of silk fill the arena, and Lace dashes away in a rage. She leaves us with more questions than she's answered. Who is this? And why does she have such a burning animosity for Hornet, a bug she doesn't know? Having defeated Lace, Hornet can continue exploring into the deep docks, discovering the Forged Daughter and Ballo, who can supply Hornet with the tools she needs to continue her journey onwards to Farfield. Having defeated Lace, Hornet can continue deeper into the deep docks, entering the region of Farfields. In Farfields, Hornet will encounter the remains of a large automaton that's been pinned down with rocks. This is the first time we get some foreshadowing of an upcoming boss fight, and is one of the little details I like about our next boss fight, the Fourth Chorus. The Fourth Chorus is a large ant-shaped robot, mech or automaton, created by the architects. From the bosses in Act 1, the Fourth Chorus is one of my favorites. He is a wonderful showcase of the attention to detail Team Cherry put into the animations and the art style of the game. The Fourth Chorus is the most bombastic and grandiose boss fight so far, with his grand scale towering over Hornet. This titanic opponent has wide-sweeping attacks that can cross the arena, and we also see stepped-up environmental attacks, with the breakable platforms fighting over a pit of lava and also falling rocks from above, kind of foreshadowing some of the more difficult boss fights later on, where the arena can be as much of a threat as the actual boss. If you pay attention to his telegraphs, the Fourth Chorus is a manageable boss. If you pay attention to his arms, his next attack will not be a surprise. supplies. But the combination of dodging his attacks along with the environmental hazards will lead Hornet to multiple early deaths as you learn his moveset. At this point, there's not too much strategy to the bosses because you only have one silk skill and one tool, along with only having one crest. But that will change with time as our inventory fills out. At this point in the game, Hornet will have two traversal skills or items, the dash and the drifter's cloak that she will have just gotten from the seamstress. Both will be put to good use trying to keep her out of the lava. Once enough damage has been applied, two geysers of air will appear on either side of the arena, a way the game encourages you or teaches you how to use the drifter's cloak. Using them, Hornet will be able to fly to the top of the arena and dislodge a fiery rock, which will fall on the fourth chorus's head and end the fight, allowing Hornet to continue her exploration, making her way to the Citadel. The next boss is the Skull Tyrant, but secretly this is also kinda about Bone Bottom and the pilgrims because my wife got carried away typing the script. Bone Bottom serves as a camp for pilgrims, preparing for their respective journeys to the Citadel. When Hornet arrives, she speaks to a cute little pilgrim sitting peacefully next to the bench. They ask if she's also a pilgrim preparing for her climb, and Hornet says no, but she'll be following the path. Not a pilgrim? Well, it makes no difference, I suppose. We all must walk the roads, up and up, though most of us will fall long before we see the grand gates. How kind of the little pilgrim to look beyond their differences and still find common ground to relate with Hornet. Despite how Hornet was brought to this land, she's met with kindness, a sign that these bugs aren't responsible for her entrapment and that she must seek further for the culprit. Sharka uses Bone Bottom as a way station and is where Hornet can find her if she misses her in her travels between the various surrounding areas. Sharka warns that Bone Bottom has poor defenses despite the dangers that are around, astutely foreshadowing of misfortune to come. This outpost that the shambling pilgrim bugs have built for themselves. Dondaku, where are the armaments? The watch post. Never have I seen such a poorly defended encampment. Hornet replies, the pilgrims here seem to have no mind for war, Sharka. I suspect most depart for the Citadel soon after their arrival. If they persist in their carelessness, they will find only death in these harsh lands. Hornet takes heed to warn the little pilgrim to return his kindness, maybe. Hornet tells the pilgrim, this camp seems in poor condition, good bug. With the lands around it turning deadly, I'd worry for its safety. We surely aren't seeing its finest moment, but this place has been serving us passing bugs for as long as any can remember. It's faith, you see, all those pilgrims, now and past. Our devotion holds it together. The camp remains and provides, no matter the troubles. Another friendly face we come to know in Bone Bottom is that of Flick the Fixer. Hornet encounters him building a wish wall, explaining that he's the resident fixer and he wants to help facilitate in getting some prayers answered. Here, Hornet can accept various quests for rewards to aid in her journey. Granting Flick's wish for supplies to continue fixing things around Bone Bottom earns you his gratitude and gives us some insight into Hornet's character. She's got a hard outer shell and a cold, calculating nature. Granting the wishes doesn't seem a kindness to her, but she learns that gratitude is its own currency. Well, look at that. You've gone and donated all those shell shards, just like I wished for. I can scarcely believe it. Those shards are valuable, all right. Brilliant for crafting and fixing. Very versatile. More than that though, it was a warm thing you did. The sort of kindness you don't see much in this weary place. Hornet replies, was this kindness? I must take care to learn of this land and claim what advantage I can from it. Answering requests like yours can often fit those ends. Oh, it's like that, is it? Well, even still, the help's well appreciated, miss. Best of luck in your travels. May every wish of yours be granted. It's on this wish wall where Hornet accepts a grand hunt wish to eliminate a skull tyrant nearby, a plea from the residents of Bone Bottom to keep them safe. The reward is a heavy rosary necklace, an item that can only be obtained through granting wishes. The skull tyrant appears to be a kind of a hermit crab, in that it's a creature that took up residence in the shell or skull of a larger creature. Thematically and visually, he resembles a lot of the creatures we see in the Maru. His attacks are rushing back and forth across the arena and stomping on the ground, dislodging rocks from above. He's a big, angry boy, and the large skull he wears is impenetrable. He's immune from strikes from above, but the Hornet can needle bounce off the skull when he rampages towards her. The key to this boss is some patience and jumping over his attacks, allowing Hornet to continuously land attacks from the side. Later in the game, another skull tyrant tears through Bone Bottom, proving Chakra's point. The bench is demolished, but luckily, the little pilgrim has already started their journey. If they hadn't, the skull tyrant would have been their end. He's still a minor boss and can be taken out without too much difficulty. And Bone Bottom is fortunate to have Flick around, who repairs the bench and restores the camp as much as he can. I wish I had a Flick in real life, someone to repair the holes in my sheetrock and fix my door that creaks every time I open it, but more importantly, someone to repair my soul. If Hornet continues to return to Bone Bottom and grant all their wishes, Flick will gift Hornet a shard statue of herself in gratitude for all that she's done for the camp. And the residents of Bone Bottom show their appreciation for Flick by building him a giant statue to mark the entrance to the camp. And the little pilgrim, Hornet, encounters him again, safe, though not unscathed, at Pilgrim's Rest. It's here where they formally introduce themselves, solidifying their kinship. And finally, and in terms of the fate of Bone Bottom, in the end, in Act 3, Bone Bottom is decimated. Though not all is lost, Hornet can rest easy once again when she finds that the survivors have relocated to a camp in the Marrow, in the spot once occupied by the Flea Caravan. Next up is the Splinter Sister. This is where the bosses start to get a little bit more interesting mechanically and lore-wise. The bestiary says, imposing old insect, nesting in the heights of Shellwood. Her command of twig and branch ensured no pilgrim ever survived her territory. This one lived long and fed much. The woods would be much safer for her slaying. The Splinter Sister moved to the woods after Nihilith's demise. We'll be talking more about Nihilith later on. With the Splinter Sister, we get a glimpse of what boss fights will be looking more like as we get deeper into the game. There's 3 main threats to the Splinter Sister, which is what makes her, I think, more interesting as the difficulty ramps up. First of all, we have a changing environmental hazard with the thorn sticks that come down. The Splinter Sister creates hazard around the arena that Hornet has to avoid or can break to give herself more room to move around in. Secondly, the Splinter Sister will also have a swiping attack where she uses her large branches to try to hit Hornet. And third, she spawns minions. The Mossmother is the first boss to spawn minions, but the Splinter Sister's minions pose a far more serious threat. Minions add an element of RNG, which some people will say makes for bad game design, or it can be pretty frustrating because it gives you a lot on screen to track at one time, which some people think can make a fight unfair, but that is personal opinion. Throughout the fight, the Splinter Sister will summon 2 minions that will fly across the arena, also trying to swipe at Hornet. So Hornet will have to dodge 3 different types of threats: the Splinter Sister swipes, the thorn sticks that shoot downwards, and the minions. In my opinion, this is where the difficulty significantly ramps up, and also where strategies start to emerge, since you might have the Reaper Crest, a second moveset, and the Silk Thread skill. So now Hornet has more to manage during the fight and in the arena, but also has more options on attacks and tools that she can use. Defeating the Splinter Sister opens the path to the Cling Grip, another traversal skill, which will allow Hornet to be able to hold onto the wall and jump off of it, greatly opening up exploration options and allowing Hornet to move through more parts of the map. Something I wanted to point out is that the color scheme of the boss will generally reflect the color scheme of the area they are found in. The Mossmother looks a lot like the creatures and the lush greenness of Mosshome. The Skull Tyrant is gray like the marrow. The fourth chorus is colored orange like the lava in Farfields. The Disgraced Chef looks like shit like the muckwater in Sinner's Road. And this trend will continue with the great conchflies, which are found on the far side of the blasted steppes and gate the entrance to the sands of Karak, an area colored by the red coral growth found everywhere. The bestiary tells us about the sweet nature of these creatures that we are about to fight and kill one of. Elder Conchfly, crowned with a huge coral crown. Once partnered with a mate, they will rarely be seen alone. The conchflies, like humans, mate for life. To pair with another is a base instinct and one that brings some bugs great joy. I once sought similar union, but of my own mates, none could match my lifespan. Here, the bestiary gives us a little insight into Hornet's personal life and the fact that due to her divine nature, she will outlive most other bugs, which must be a truly lonely experience. The great conchflies will have two different attacks, flying across the screen, either vertically or horizontally, and spitting smaller conch shells that bounce around the room, threatening Hornet. One by themselves isn't really much of a threat, but with two of them flying across the screen, it gives Hornet more to have to keep track of and dodge. The fight will continue until Hornet has landed enough damage. Then one of the two conchflies will perish and the other one, enraged, will run away. I mean, fair enough, you did just kill its mate. During her explorations, before making it to the Citadel, Hornet will find the town of bugs enraptured in a curse. The inhabitants suspended in the air, held in place by silk threads. Above the town, she will find the source of the curse, the widow. Upon approaching her, the widow and Hornet will exchange words. Oh, they shall join. Union upon your thread, a gift for your waking. A world strong to serve. Hornet replies, creature, your claws guide those cursed threads, but you are not their source. What role do you play in this vile affliction? The widow replies, oh, she is here. A rare birthling, precious child of worm and weaver, spawn of those who dared to flee. She has found her way home at last. How fine her shell and silk and claw. For you, mother, let me claim her all for you. From the Hunter's Journal, we learn that the widow is a crazed fanatic, able to guide Pharloom's haunted silk by music played on it. Her body seemed a weaver's, but her mask has been forcefully removed, and her silk was bound useless by heavy pins lodged through her spine. The widow shows us the power of the haunting and the silk, its ability to take control of other bugs and bend them to the will of the weavers. The widow will attack Hornet with a frenzied string of attacks, summoning bells up from the ground and dashing across the arena, trying to catch Hornet in her claw. After dealing enough damage, she will have a fake out death, after which she will revive and surprise Hornet with an even more frenzied barrage of attacks, faster claw swipes, and even more aggressive bell attacks. Once defeated, Hornet binds the widow and gains the Needle-In skill, a skill that will cause most enemies to stop for a moment and sing, allowing Hornet extra time in a dire situation or insight into each bug's motivation. Hornet is disturbed by the widow's service to the unknown entity at this point in her journey. In dialogue with Chakra, she says, its own silk was bound, pinned deep within its shell, a cruel punishment I've not before witnessed. Upon solving a puzzle in the Weavenest Syndrome, Hornet finds a map of escape routes and a room harp reading, Plea of a Weaver from the furthest edge of Pharloom. Flee, sisters, flee until your strength exhaust, so you may escape at last her silken sight, to start anew, to sustain, free of web, and service eternal. Perhaps the widow is named such because she's the last of her kind, one who is unable to escape and punished for all those who fled. Perhaps what Hornet witnessed is a desperate and broken ancestor bound in service for her unique ability to enchant with thread. Once defeated, Bellheart is released from his curse and haunting, and we meet some lovely characters such as Pavel, the shopkeeper, the pinmaster, and the greedy archivist. Bellheart will later become Chakra's resting point at the end of her journey, making Bellheart the last safe spot once the darkness has been released. It will eventually become home to many wanderers, and Hornet herself will eventually have a residence here. After collecting the Drifter's Cloak, Hornet will be able to fly up into Greymoor and encounter the MoorWing. Greymoor is a drab place in the center of Pharloom, afflicted by constant rainfall like Seattle, covered in bodies of water. An awful place dominated by birds, a bird hell. Hitchcock would have loved to have seen this place. As I record this in the safety of my home, I can look outside the window and see the birds watching me. They know I'm slandering them. Begone, foul beast. You stay in the skies, and I'll stay on the earth. Respect the pact. Birds are proof the devil still has influence in this world. Do you know how many hundreds of pounds of bird poop I've had to wash off of my patio? Birds cruise the world, flying above us, just shitting on us. And yet, we humans just accept that. Anyway, back to SilkSong. Greymoor seems to have been used as farmlands. The bugs that used to tend to the tall windmills in the area, still roaming about under the influence of the haunting. The area is infested by crawbugs and mites. It is among the windmills that you meet the Don Quixote of Pharloom and his faithful steed. Garmand and Zaza are an endearing, brave, and optimistic pair on a noble quest to see their lands cut free from the haunted madness. Hornet learns by speaking with Garbanzo that they are the only survivors of their village, and they are out to seek justice. What cause sees you traveling these blighted lands, Garmand? Do you seek the Citadel above? Garmand replies, "Aye, but do not mistake a valorous adventurer for a mere pilgrim. Mine is a sacred quest, shared with my most trusted companion, dear Zaza. We seek the Citadel, not for its gifts, nay, sister, we seek its rulers, to demand their answer, by force if necessary, for our dear village to whom we pledge our shells. The fearsome haunting of thread, it overcame our fair folk. We are all that remain, left to carry their memory, and the hope to see some justice paid." Hornet acknowledges their righteous quest, but also the impossibility of their goal. They too seek the specter of the haunting's heart, though I fear that foe would pose a challenge beyond their mortal limits. And it is here in Greymoor, with the help of Garmand and Zaza, that we encounter the MoorWing. The Hunter's Journal tells us, wing-might beast, bred large to catch workers who once tried to flee their task. With its ranklers long dead, the MoorWing stalked the towers of Greymoor, feasting on passing pilgrims and tenders alike. We will happen upon Garmand and Zaza once again, who offer their aid in the fight against the MoorWing. Though the MoorWing fight can be skipped in Act 1 by either granting the Flea Master's wish or entering from Bellheart, but it still stalks the lands of Greymoor until Hornet slays it. Or if, like me, you simply can't beat him in Act 1 and come back with better weapons and more upgrades, because maybe I'm not very good at this game. The MoorWing is proof true evil exists in the world of SilkSong. Not only is it like a bird, it's a giant one that can throw knives at you. It will swoop down from its lofty heights with his claws slashing out at our brave protagonist. The Red Maiden is brave to not flee in horror at the sight of this giant flying creature wielding blades, honing down on her. Just the thought is enough to give me night terrors. The MoorWing poses a significant challenge and is one of the bosses that was nerfed shortly after release of the game. Hornet will have to be careful not to make contact and take damage that way when she jumps up to try to strike him. His attacks are either slashing with his claws or tossing projectiles at Hornet and mixing it up with flying across the screen. The arena is large, and it's possible to run out of sight of the MoorWing. Though this may not be a good idea, since you won't be able to see him and anticipate his next attack. I took a lot of damage this way, thinking that distance would keep me safe, but rather it just left me blind to the next attack. It might be a good idea to try to remain underneath him, since most of his attacks move him left to right, and he has a hard time attacking straight down. Once the MoorWing is defeated, there's only a couple of bosses left in Act 1, and these dictate how Hornet will make it into the Citadel. There are two ways into the Citadel, one through the Judge and going through the front door. The other is through Sinner's Road, avoiding the Judgment. This path leads to Phantom and allows Hornet to enter the Citadel through the toilet. Using the recently acquired Needlin back in Moss' home, Hornet enters Weavenest Atla, and it reminds her of the White Palace. Did Hornet's weaver mother assist in the construction of her father's palace? Home to Eva, another weaver halfling child, like the Phantom, the despised and discarded sister, as interpreted from the rune harp found there. Words of a weaver from the nest beneath Bone Bottom hide her deep, the despised child, our shame shown in shell of iron. She is a wish cast vain, divinity mimicked in form too frail. The boss you find in Weavenest Atla is a familiar one, the Mossmother. And this time, it's not just one Mossmother, it's two. Defeat the Mossmothers and Hornet obtains the Weavelight, a tool that increases Hornet's passive silk regeneration. When Hornet defeats the Mossmothers there, it completes her Hunter's Journal entry. Adult Mossmere with fully developed stinger and hardened hide. Motherhood is an instinct that can push creatures beyond what seems their normal limits. It turns even weaker beasts like these into formidable foes. The entry foreshadows the journey of another resident of Weavenest Atla, Eva, the failed experiment, bound in an iron shell she cannot survive without. She tells us, "I am unique, you see. My mother shared the curse of her tribe. To conceive a child is painful, near impossible task." Hornet says, "I know the curse well, Eva, for I am also its victim, and spawn of one who managed to overcome its limits." With her aid, she watches Hornet grow, and it is Hornet's growth that inspires Eva to escape her iron shell, the thing that grants her life, but also imprisons her. Lady, you are a multitude within a single shell, a being truly unbound. To aid your growth has proved a grand task, even for one as limited as me. As my last act, permit me to ask a final selfish request, only to have my own soul, my own memories, bound within your shell. But my small strength may still grant a final boon. Hornet warns her that granting her wish would end her life. I know, and still I seek it gladly, to be united with one unbound, she says. This is the kind of escape I once prayed for, though the weight of ages has almost made me forgot. Dear lady, would you grant me this request? When Hornet binds frail Eva, it grants Hornet the formidable SilkSong, the ability to refill her silk at any bench. It seems that Eva had the maternal urge to give everything for the weaver child who could free Pharloom from its curse. The Phantom. From the Hunter's Journal, mournful creature tasked alone to expel the Citadel's choking refuge. Their talent with a long pin is unmatched. Though gray with age, their frayed form suggested a being strung from silk, one who welcomed a decisive end in combat over a slow decline. Playing the needlein at the exhaust organ reveals the tragic soliloquy. She spun us to fade, she spun us to break. Why us, sister? Why? The Phantom is another creature spun from silk, sister to lace, but discarded at the edge of the Citadel. Hornet references their frayed form, playing an operatic elegy on their pipe organ which spews steam. It's quite the contrast to Lace, atop the Citadel, laying in a bed of white roses. To encounter the Phantom, Hornet will have to traverse the filthy Sinner's Road, make her way past the muck roaches, and navigate this filthy area. Making her way to the top, she can enter the Mist, an area haunted by the Silk Wraiths or Banshees, with no clear path. Hornet must follow the sound of the organ and the plea of her needlein, which will inspire the silk flies to show her the way. Having crossed both of these areas, Hornet will finally be able to make her way to the exhaust organ, and it's here where she will find the Phantom in their melancholic wait. The fight with the Phantom resembles the fight with Lace in some ways. They're both battles with talented fighters wielding swords or long pins, capable of using parries, though the Phantom will use the steam exhaust to her advantage and try to take Hornet by surprise. The fight with the Phantom can be very rewarding, and you'll hear me say this a few times, because there's a certain musicality to the rhythm of the fight. The Phantom will attack with almost a steady beat. Once you learn the beat and how to counter her attacks, the duel with the Phantom feels like a dance. Every of her attacks has a clear response or a movement you should reply with. At this point, you may not have too many tools and your nail hasn't been upgraded very much, so the fight can take quite a few minutes, which gives you a chance to fall into a rhythm and enjoy the beat and the melody of the fight. And once you're able to follow her pace, attack, dodge, reply, attack, dodge, reply, it will almost feel like you're in a dance with her. And this is what gives the fights with Lace, the Cogward Dancers, and a few others a certain thrill to learning how to master them. You truly feel like you've learned the pace, you've learned the dance, you develop your skills as a player, making the fight all the more gratifying once you're able to overcome the challenge. Of course, you can always rely on tools and skills, and as you'll see in the footage throughout this video, I often did. But when you're able to figure out a boss, it is a rush and it is so much fun. If defeated, it will open up an alternate way into the Citadel and avoid the fight with the last judge. Hornet will also learn another silk skill from the Phantom, the parry skill, which will serve her well if she times her enemy's attacks correctly. Upon the Phantom's death, they will explode into silk dregs, the same that were expelled from the exhaust organ and compose the mist. Upon their death, the mist is no more, just a path to Sinner's Road and Biowater. You have to wonder if the Phantom was really a villain, and given what we know about the Phantom, it's easy to surmise that they would have wanted to have gone out in a pitched battle with a talented fighter like Hornet. Let's hope the Phantom finds some peace in the afterlife.
D'un enfant sur le banc, Faridou la simanette, Doni point à vodinette, Pina sans mimat.
Some areas in Pharloom are inherently more treacherous than others, and the Blasted Steppes lets you know right away this is a hostile area. The wind blowing sand into Hornet's eyes, the violent gust pushing her away from her platforms, the worms burrowing up from the ground, reaching for her if she gets too close. The Blasted Steppes will present the most significant traversal challenge so far, and if she's not careful, Hornet will fall to the worms, the judges, or the Conchflies that populate the area. But slowly and surely, she will make her way to the top, where she will find a bench where she can catch her breath and meet Sherma, who's also on his way to the Citadel. And here starts one of the most notorious runbacks in SilkSong. It's not the hardest, but at this point you only have a few of the traversal abilities, and most players will still be learning the game. So it's very treacherous given that it's fairly early in the game. Once you have the Fey Cloak and the claw line, it does get a lot easier, but you won't be getting those until the later acts. But once Hornet makes it all the way to the top of the Blasted Steppes, her grueling trek will lead her to the gilded door of the Grand Gates. 5 bells are inlaid within the doors, one for each of the 5 bell shrines strewn about Lower Pharloom. Only by ringing the 5 bells may a pilgrim pass through the grand gate. A couple of pilgrims are outside the door, excitedly announcing that the bells have been rung, and all that's left is to attune them with song. Hornet offers to play the Niederlin, almost shyly indicating that she only recently learned how to play. The pilgrims enthusiastically encourage her to play and join their voices to her song. This is it, the moment they have journeyed long and far for. The 5 bells in the door ring one by one, and it is at that moment that something stirs in the background. In the darkness of this grand hall, a fire awakens. It's the last judge. She swings her weapon, immediately striking them down. If one will not be a sinner and walk down the filthy sinner's road, they would have to be judged by this large and imposing figure who purges sin with fire, the final arbiter of the blasted steps, tasked to ensure only the sinless ever step beyond the grand gate. The huge judge likely stood through countless generations, never defeated, never wavering in their charge, coldly and objectively separating the pure from the sinners. What could possibly pass as sinless before this judge? Is it Hornet's presence that condemns these 2 pilgrims to their fate? And thus begins one of Hornet's grandest challenges so far. The judge will expertly throw her flail across the room. Hornet's gonna have to be quick to dodge it. The judge is also quick and can close the distance with Hornet in a single bound, trying to crush her with the judge's immense weight. Once Hornet has delivered enough damage, the judge will light the flail and start using fire-based attacks to purge the sin from Hornet. Hornet will have to make her way and dodge the physical attacks and also the waves of fire that will spew forth from the judge's flail and her body as she jumps around and swings her weapon. Hornet will have to stay true and pure to dodge the judgment of the fire and learn the pattern of the judge's attacks as the judge swings her weapon and jumps to and from. But if Hornet is able to stay focused, she will be able to put the judge down. But here we learn of the judge's one last treachery, a retaliation attack. True to the nature of fire, the judge will combust into one last explosion, taking Hornet down if she stays too close, forcing Hornet to repeat the journey back to the gate and repeat the fight if she's caught in it. But if Hornet is successful, the gates will open for Hornet and she can make her way into the Citadel, ending Act 1. Oh wow, we made it. Thank you very much for sticking with me until the end of the video. 2 more videos to come covering the bosses, lore, locations, NPCs, and the stories of Act 2 and 3. If you want to stay up to date, make sure you enable notifications. The algorithm might not recommend a video to you if it thinks you're not interested. Also, this is the first gaming lore video I've made with my wife's help. She helped me write the script, so any inaccuracies or errors are her fault. I take no responsibility for mistakes I recorded, edited, and published on my channel. That's a joke. Please never tell her I said that. If you would like to support the channel, wait till a full moon. Go outside at night with a full glass of milk. Look at the moon dead in the eyes, and then throw the glass of milk as hard as you can at the moon while screaming at the top of your lungs. Okay, don't do that. That's a joke and a waste of a good glass and perfectly good milk. If you want to support the channel, you know what to do. You hear it on every video. YouTube is rolling out a new hype feature, so if you want to do me a favor, do the hype thing however it works. I'm not really sure. But if you're hearing this, you watched the entire video. I had a lot of fun making it. From the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Until the next one, take care. This is John from TacoBanana, signing off. Until next time, bye.